on every week.
We didn't listen.
Oh,
These fucking guys. What the fuck?
We're about to do
Holy
a fucking
shit.
cultural revolution.
Oh
on this
my
podcast.
God.
Let's go.
Actual Marxist.
Oh, sorry guys. My bad. That's really
Holy shit.
Move the peasants to the
What?
farm.
What the fuck is going on?
All right. Well,
He's got the full getup.
e-commie boy, e-commie
No
boy
way.
here.
We are moving to a centrally planned podcast.
That's the
No
funniest
way.
shit.
just got a phone call real quick. Yeah. New ringtone.
What's going on, man?
We did have a debate this past week. Do we want to start with that?
I don't even know where to. You know what we haven't talked about enough? The Vanguard interview from 3 weeks ago. I feel like that one.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let's run it back. All right, guys, we'll run it back.
I've been accused of being a tanky supporter, and I don't know why. There's nothing that I've ever said or done. Same thing with Pisco that would indicate that I'm a supporter of tankies. And I hope that the debate that we had with Destiny and those guys really cleared things up.
Yeah.
The way I describe Econoboy's recent coming out as a socialist would be like a boomer parent who's still kind of like vaguely queerphobic, but still wants to support their son, you know? So it's
this
like,
is you.
I don't understand it. I don't know if I agree
But
with
I
it.
love
but
you,
I will
and I support you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Exactly like
That's
that.
right.
Well, because
What
you
do
don't
I
want to be
wear
sent
to
to the
the gay
gulag.
wedding?
Well, that's precisely you're doing
Oh,
it
the
because
gulag,
you don't
yeah.
want to be shipped to the gulag once he eventually seizes the means of production and overthrows the bourgeoisie.
Again, I don't like tankies. Okay, I'm not a big fan of tankies. Okay,
Aren't you sitting in the turret of a tank as we speak?
No. This outfit. You look. It's cold in this room, so I needed to wear a jacket. And
Yeah.
my wife
What about
bought
the
me
hat,
this hat.
though? The hat. Oh, the hat,
The hat.
is for the wife.
My wife bought it for me, and this shirt. I mean, I just found it at some sort of a.
we didn't even say
you know,
see the Che Guevara
Oh,
down there.
wait. I didn't see Che. Wait, show everybody Che.
I don't know who this. I just found this at a thrift shop. I don't know
Oh,
who this
shit.
actually is.
You like going
on the-
thrifting?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're not pro LGBT anymore? Is that what the
Yeah,
flags
yeah.
represent? Yeah.
I was gonna say.
No. I still have I always have flags in my background. You know, sometimes I want to switch it. It's been a long time I've had the same flags, and these were just, again, I went to the thrift shop, and I don't know what these flags represent.
You should have
thrift
also
shop?
bought. You should have. Tell me you have it as a prop. Mao's little book. Please tell me he's reaching.
No, I don't know. I don't know who Mao is.
What you're talking about?
Hang on one second.
I
That's
saw you reach for
Holy
something. I thought for
shit.
sure you had it.
No.
The chairman.
I've updated your title
I'll take it.
to the chair.
The only socialist books I have in reach are the G.A. Cohen book, Why Not Socialism?
There you go.
And then this Matt McManus book. I'm going to be talking to Matt right after this show about liberal socialism. That's right. So it'll be a fun time. So what was the big news this week? So yeah, we had our debate. That was fun. I think
should
I
unpack
won the
that a little
debate
bit.
personally.
We should unpack that a little bit.
I won the debate.
Really?
Guys. You know, it
We
was
don't
an
have
easy
to.
dub.
No, we can. I'm not
Okay,
shying away
here's the
from it.
thing. You guys can recap this, but I swear to God, we are not spending the whole time on it because we've had DOJ
No, we don't
indictments,
have to.
BLS shit, Texas Democrats. But yeah, let's go ahead and clear it out of the way.
I mean,
Yeah, we
how,
had
do,
a debate.
how do you guys feel about it?
I think
I won.
I think Econobo won. So I think where we're at is there's no clear prescription in terms of what people are expecting vis-a-vis communists. I had like a number of like people like over the weekend. We were playing some games in my Discord, and the prescriptions ranged from, okay, definitely we want you to work with Hassan and people like Mike from PA, but only to spread your message, and you need to be a little meaner, to no, you should cancel the whole podcast. And so I come away from that there is no clear prescription in terms of what was done wrong with respect to the Vanguard situation, and and no clear rules of the road going forward in terms of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. It seems like we're allowed to synergistically work with tankies for the purpose of getting, turning out the vote for Democrats. And so, yeah, I'm pretty much of the opinion that that's where we stand. No rules, no prescriptions, just a bunch of feelings.
Yeah. My sense of the debate was that I definitely won personally. I proved definitively that Connor didn't know anything about history, which was a really fun thing to do. I was talking to somebody. I said something like Connor had a really optimal mixture of confidence and lack of knowledge, and it's always fun to debate someone like that. No offense to Connor, he was just a little bit out of his depth. Okay, when you're talking to me, all right.
No offense to Connor, he's just fucking stupid. Doesn't know what he's talking about.
I didn't say that.
I
didn't say that.
I'm
okay?
translating for you. Yeah.
But no. Okay, so I thought it was a pretty fun conversation, and I guess this conversation has inspired, at least for me personally, several subsequent conversations. I'm having one with Matt McManus later today about liberal socialism. That's not really a debate. Adam and Sitch reacted to the debate. I was just told that they were misrepresenting me.
Wait,
which,
Adam and
you know-
Sitch?
Wait, who?
Wait, who? Adam and
Who?
Sitch misrepresent?
Adam and
It's
Sitch, the
Sitch
guys.
and Adam, just to be clear.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
it's
sorry.
Sitch and Adam.
I was going
haven't heard that name
alphabetical
in a long
order.
time. Those guys aren't relevant anymore. Did you forget about
Wow.
that, Economo? You don't have to worry about what they say.
Damn.
I don't know. They were streaming to a decent clip of people. I don't know. I was told they were misrepresenting my views, so I said, "Hey guys, what's going on? Let me talk to you." So that's
Did they
happening on
block you?
Tuesday.
Nice.
No, I escaped the great purge of Adam and Sitch's Twitter. Personally, they never blocked me because I was never
great
mean to them, like you guys were.
Can you stop using Stalinist terms every chance you
Something
get?
of a cultural revolution on the Adam and Sitch show. But anyway, so I'll be talking to them on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, Ryan Mullally. I almost called him Ryan McCulkey. Ryan Mullally called me evil.
Ryan Macaulay Culkin.
Right. Mullally's a unique last name. I don't know if I've ever heard it before.
I always fuck it up and I put McNally. And Peace goes like, "Who the fuck are you talking about?" Every time.
So so I'll be he called me evil on Twitter, and so I'll be talking to him about the evils of socialism, I guess, on Wednesday. I'm sure that'll be a great discussion. Then not finally, we've got Destiny. He wanted to have a one-on-one about, I guess, socialism with me, and so I'll be talking to him on Thursday. I figure that'll get a lot of views. I'm going to try and do a charity stream on my end, I guess, that night. So that'll be on Thursday. And then on Friday, I've got another stream planned with a smaller creator. So busy week for Econo Boy. And I had to put together this outfit, obviously, which was
congratulations. Okay, put together. You literally just walked into your closet and grabbed the first thing off the fucking hanger. Let's just be real about this. Okay, number one. Number two. I think it's good that you're kind of like engaging in, Aikido, redirecting the energy of this into something productive for your streaming career. Good for you.
That's right. That's right.
Wait, what are you debating with McNally? Or Mullally?
God damn it, Josiah. You did that on purpose. No, he did that on purpose, guys.
No, I did not.
No, so Mullally, he believes that socialism is evil. Now, of course, he's a centrist. He wouldn't say what Trump is doing is bad. He would just kind of, I don't know about that. But obviously,
the Democrats
socialism
deserved to lose.
Right.
I don't
Now,
say that I would vote for Trump, but they deserve.
Obviously,
to lose.
look, he's got to play the middle, guys. Okay, is Trump bad? Good. I disagree with a lot and this and that. But if you call yourself a socialist, you are evil. Period, according to Ryan. So there's no ambiguity there.
So you're evil,
forward.
but he's holding out judgment on Trump and what he's doing.
He is. That is correct, Pisco. And so we're going to unpack that on Wednesday. And I might break out this background and outfit just for that very conversation again. This isn't retired, this show. We'll see if I break it out again in the future.
I think it's the start of something new. I wouldn't.
It sure is. That's right.
It's gonna be the live and learn costume. I should say after you get done with Ryan, then I think it's Hutch. I think Hutch is the last man standing as far as somebody who is not on this panel had a conversation with Ryan. I told him today because he was in my replies. I'm like, after all the conversations I've had with you and the conversations that I've seen you have with Pisco, and then listening to the one he had the other day with Destiny, I'm like, my personal affection with bantering for you or for bantering with you notwithstanding. No, it's still there, but like you're a lost cause as far as I'm concerned. Like there is no.
I think it's a bit of a lost cause.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this person. So
yeah. I mean, his logic. I saw part of that conversation. His logic was like, yeah, Trump is bad, but like Kamala was going to do DEI. Like that was basically his, and I don't. That's not an uncharitable interpretation of what he said, by the way.
It's like the Rogan position, I guess, or I don't know. Rogan's working his way up to that position, I think.
Yeah,
that's
Rogan,
right. Yeah.
Rogan is slowly de-radicalizing. Yeah, so he'll say stuff like, "Okay, I admit it. Trump is worse on free speech, and Trump is corrupt, and Trump is authoritarian, but the Biden administration.
He said, so I saw a quote for him that was basically word for word what you're saying.
Yeah.
And where he went with it was, but look at what Kamala was going to do with like Twitter. It was like implying that she was going to do some mass censorship.
Again, these
like
guys,
that.
look, I'm sorry. These guys, I feel like, again, when Vance is running for president or Don Jr., whoever it is that's coming back from Trump, we have to maintain this through line throughout. We cannot let them get away with it. Because in 3 years, when we're on the back end of Trump's presidency and he's done exponentially crazier shit up to that point, you're going to have people like Rogan and people like Mullally and all these other people that are like, look, I was saying Trump was bad the whole time. And oh my goodness, like I was one of the new ones. No, fuck that. Same thing with all these Republican politicians that are like, no, I'm endorsing Vance. Like you'll probably see people out of the woodwork ready to endorse the Republican nominee just because he's not Trump. That's bullshit. We can't let these guys get away with their open support for this completely insane, like,
to be
fascist
fair to
regime.
Ryan, he didn't vote for Trump. He said Trump was disqualified because of the fake electors plot in January 6th. But to throw like a curveball at you, Trump was disqualified and Kamala wasn't. But if you held a projectile throwing device to his head,
My bad.
he would have voted for Trump. Now, I don't know how you square that circle. I haven't, but that's where Hutch comes in. Hutch is gonna be able to crack the code.
It's not gonna work.
No, he's not gonna work. These people. Okay, look, there's a certain type of person. Okay, and I think it's one of the reasons why Ryan kind of he triggers so many people. But there's a lot. This is one reason why Adam triggers so many people from the Sitch and Adam show. Right? Is that like
Ryan
I feel like
is 10,000 times smarter than Adam. Adam is deeply stupid and dishonest in a way.
This is why you got blocked and not me, Josiah.
I didn't get. Well, I did get blocked. I
didn't
forgot
say
about
it. He said it.
No,
I stand 100% 10 toes down on business. Just a deeply, profoundly stupid person.
I think there's a type of person where it's like, and it's been criticized before, but there's this type of like, look, I'm not like one of these partisan brained idiots over here. I like to call it right down the middle, balls and strikes, right? Just like it is. And it's just ultimately infuriating because it's the equivalent of somebody coming into a completely final discussion like climate change or something like that and be like, I'm not like one of these crazy eco-terrorists that believes in climate change, and I'm also not like one of these coal executives that denies it exists. There's some like middle ground here where both sides are equally right. But that's stupid. That's idiotic. There's just some issues where some people are right and wrong. Right? So it triggers the fuck out of me. Anyway,
they straddle a centrist position and then kind of go where the wind blows. Like Andrew Schultz recently has been more heavy-handed in his criticisms of Trump. He posted about how you don't break your word breaks you regarding a story that Trump is backing off of the IVF stuff.
Yeah.
And so Theo Vaughn is in a similar so like I think a lot of people thought that the MAGA momentum was going to carry on for much longer and Jenk, Jenk and Anna, I think fit in this category. And the reality is that I don't know if you guys have seen Trump's approval ratings in the aggregate, but he is fucking tanked.
I saw a YouGov poll had him at 38 today, I think is what I saw. But that was just one poll.
Well, I mean, Gallup had him at 37, but among independents and Democrats, he's just cratering. And so now they feel like, I'm just assuming because it's kind of grifty, but they feel like they need to be more openly critical of him. But they have cover to do it now because he's kind of like no longer cool, especially after all this Epstein stuff.
That's what I'm saying. I think these guys realize that in part their fucking radical fucking audience is actually kind of upset with Trump. And they also realize that, look, at the end of the day, this Trump train is slowing down, right? Like we're it's not that we're near the end, but you can definitely see the end of the tunnel on the Trump train with his second term coming to an end. He's like 85 years old. We know we can't ride this and milk this forever. So you're starting to see the cracks of the loyalty of, actually I was always really critical. It's going to be completely revisionist. Okay. And so I'm just saying to the audience and to everyone out there, we can't let them get away with it. You endorsed Trump 3 times. You voted for him probably 2 or 3 times. You spread his propaganda on his show fucking dozens and dozens and dozens and thousands of times. And it's just important that people like this just can't be, I don't think they can be rehabilitated in my mind outside of the long term.
They shouldn't be part of our coalition, okay?
Pisco,
they should not be part of our coalition.
Pisco was confronted with a bit of this with his his recent Tim Pool thing, which I think you were a total mismatch for that, by the way. You understand it was 4 trolls and then you, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing. They did the trolling thing because they did the trolling thing, obviously, because they knew they could not possibly match him in the debate. So they do what a lot of other right-wing shitheads do. Like, because Tim Pool, when he wants to, he gets really fucking serious, humorless as fuck. Like, look at how he reacted to, I think it was his first debate with Luke Beasley. He just went ape shit for no reason. Like he's dead
shifty.
serious.
He's shifty. He does the whole like, oh, I'm just trolling just to get out of bad arguments, and then he tries to make it serious sometimes. But basically, the times where they did let the troll mask down a little bit. I'm thinking specifically of Alex Stein and Tim Pool. There were a couple moments where they kind of like let that drop and engaged you seriously. Gavin and the other guy were just obviously trolling the whole time. But
although Gavin
I don't think Gavin was.
Gavin did say that like no cops were attacked on January 6th, and then he said, "Okay, you got us on the on the Epstein stuff." No, but
they were forced to take a position of, yeah, it's possible that Donald Trump like raped children, but
who cares?
He's our guy. Like that's the unfortunate position of being like a MAGA spokesperson right now. Is like if you want to support him, still you have to take that position. None of them said, "Oh, there's no chance he's not involved." I feel like everybody that was serious on that stage were saying like, yeah, he might be involved with the Epstein
and a bunch of Democrats had to fucking take L after L after L of like, oh yeah, like I get it, Biden's a slow old man, and like we don't like that he's so slow, but we're still gonna support him. How could you do that? How could you support a guy that's just not 100% as youthful as he used to be just because you agree with him on certain policies? Like, no, that's fucking stupid. You guys are supporting this fucking actual like civil liable fucking rapist in office. If
we wanted to be super charitable, let me construct a hypothetical, and I want to know what all three of you have to say. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm in no mood for charitability, Hutch.
2028, the Dem primary comes along.
Okay.
The primary carries out. The nominee is locked in, and then 1 month before the election, you find out that they maybe were involved with child trafficking. However. Hear me out. God. However, you knew that by electing this person, it would lead to paid family leave and Medicare for all because the projected congressional majorities would allow for something like that. And it's either that or Vance. What do you do?
I've got a perfect solution. So you support them, give them 2 weeks because that's all it takes to pass paid family leave and like sweeping progressive policy, according to Jenk on Jubilee. Then you impeach and remove that person from office.
That's the exact right answer. Good for you, Josiah. You nailed it on that one. Like the only like moral position that Republicans should have right now is we should fucking impeach this guy, but we'll never do that.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, no, yeah, I wouldn't support him personally. I feel like I don't know. Assuming there's no way to get him off the ticket, I would say I'd probably vote for a third party or something in that wild and
the premise is so absurd, right? A commie boy, because obviously that person would be the Republican nominee and not the Democratic nominee. So
that's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a fair point.
If I could give a little feedback on the Destiny debate, the Destiny Connor debate that you guys had, I think that Wick did a bad job of he gave you guys a bad prompt, because I think like should we be courting the far left is just way too vague in general. And I think you guys were making reasonable points that we need to like assign people on a spectrum. And I think where Destiny, I think his thinking is a bit shallow on this issue is he just throws everybody in the, like I watched a clip of him saying like Dem socks and sock Dems and commies and socialists are all the same. And it's just not true. And then I feel like you guys got bogged down for like an hour trying to decide like, is NHS
well, you just can't hold him to any position, because anytime he says that, like, so for example, all communists are the same, socialism the same, he's like, oh, I didn't really mean that. Or when he says, for example, Mamdani is a socialist, oh, I didn't really mean that. So there's no consistent application of the term socialism here or socialist, and it certainly doesn't track common usage of the term.
To be fair, Destiny eventually he did. Well, I guess not to be fair, like just like a description of the conversation, Destiny did eventually. He did eventually narrow his criticism to socialists in the media, and he did
People
eventually
who use
agree.
The socialist term, the label, socialist label in the media.
Well, in the media, I guess so. And he also did admit that you should probably judge socialists broadly that use the label more so by who they vote for than by basically socialist media figures, which I think are two pretty big.
But then the teeth goes away of the prescription to the extent that there.
I agree. Yeah.
The teeth goes away and basically like shit on Hassan, but even then it's like it's okay if you go on Hassan's show, at least as I have sussed out further and further. And so, again, I just want to stress, there is no prescription other than feels. And if you can think of a prescription that isn't just generic to like be like meaner to them, There was someone who said this in one of my VCs. They were like, the problem was you didn't confront the vanguard on communism. Well, the thing is, we didn't have a conversation about communism. We had a conversation about the debate that Hutch brought up, which was about like the Manchin point, about Biden and Biden's agenda. And if it were the case that the problem was not confronting the vanguard on their communism or socialism, then that prescription would apply to Hutch with equal force, because Hutch obviously didn't bring up a communism issue, because who the fuck wants to have every conversation be about communism, Marxism, Leninism? And so that isn't actually why people are mad. People are mad for things they don't even know why they're mad. They actually can't distill it. Yeah.
Speaking of not every conversation being about communism or socialism, Josiah, you said you weren't going to let the whole show be about this. What's the actual news of the day, Josiah?
Let's do this. You mentioned Trump's poll, and I brought this up because the YouGov UMass poll I found really interesting that just dropped. I just saw it today. And what was interesting about it is some of the questions that I've not seen asked before since Trump was reelected. So like one, for example, Trump assessment. Donald Trump has been in office for 7 months. During this time, please indicate how X you believe Trump has been. Transparent, very 23, corrupt 45, competent 31, dishonest 49. So like if you got like
these are devastating crosstabs here.
Brutal. They're fucking brutal, right? I mean, so if you aggregate this stuff, dishonest comes in first, then corrupt, then strong, then competent, and then transparent at the bottom. And then there was one about, they didn't aggregate it though. I saw somewhere, but basically like if you could have the election over again,
right there.
Yeah. That, Kamala Harris, they'd vote for Kamala Harris. A plurality would vote for Kamala Harris. So this is the first poll that I've seen.
Encouraging. I'm just gonna say it's not.
I think it just goes to bread and butter issues, man. Like he's fucking with people's wallets right now.
Well, I understand, but what I love about that is because that question I have seen over the past several months, not the corrupt like the personality traits, but the question of if you could had a mulligan over it, and Trump was still clearing that as of like 6 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, and now this is the first one where I've seen where a decisive plurality is like, fuck no, I'd vote.
It's 4 points, Isaiah.
Yeah,
I don't think it's that decisive. I think it's discouraging.
Well, it's 7
it's
points
discouraging
actually.
for me.
It's 7.
It is.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry.
It was 35 to 42. 42 Kamala Harris.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of unaffiliateds, and people are lying about that they would vote for a third party because they always do. I mean, I think generally like my expectations are. I mean, I don't know about y'all's expectations, but like my expectation kind of going into the administration, and I think generally speaking, like the only personally speaking, like the only thing that I could see really, putting Trump's approval rating in the sub 40 aggregate range would be either a recession or some like truly disastrous foreign, like maybe like China invades Taiwan and it's just a completely disastrous foreign policy. Or if the
strike in Iran like led to war or something like that.
Exactly in the same vein. Some disastrous foreign policy event that kind of spilled over into the domestic world. I think that those are really the only two things. I think that other than that, like the Democrats have done. Like the goal of the Democrats, I think, is to at the very least establish wedge issues, which I think that they've done a good enough job of that, of like, proving to independents that Trump is terrible and also galvanizing the base to some degree.
I just want to say, like, especially in the last month, I just want to stop you there. In the last month, I feel like the Democrats are fucking fighting boys.
They are.
Yeah, just today, Mother Kathy Hochul over in New York said, hey, if they're going to gerrymander their states, I've just said we're going to gerrymander our state.
I'll believe it when I see it.
And
I hope it happens.
The Texas legislature, the Texas Democrats seeking refuge with Pritzker in Illinois, the Newsom amendment in California. Schumer's now done two things. Like he's invoked a procedural rule to compel the DOJ to provide Epstein stuff. And then he also blocked, judicial nominations using some procedural. Like they are doing the very fighting thing that people have been asking for.
And this is exactly. It's so refreshing. This is the Dems should have done this 10 years ago. Okay, credit where credit is due. They've finally fucking gotten on the train of like, look, you've got to really play dirty with these guys. If it means literally fleeing your fucking state or rewriting your state's constitution, that's what they're doing anyway. Oregon Republicans have been fleeing the state of Oregon to prevent the Democrats in Oregon from passing bills for fucking years now. This isn't even new in Oregon, right? Because that's the page they've been on.
You got to put a negative spin on it, don't you? Just give them their flowers.
No,
Just say,
that's
hey,
what I'm saying. Like
good.
they've finally learned that you've got to fight fire with fire.
I agree. The Hochul thing is what I'm interested in because of all the big three blue state governors, she is by far the most feckless. I mean, obviously, we saw what happened when she had that opportunity to shit can Eric Adams, which she absolutely should have availed herself. She chose not to because she didn't want to rock the boat. Obviously, Newsom and Pritzker have been, sounding the alarm about this. And for Hochul, like you could tell at the press conference, Hochul was tripping over her words a bit because she's not used to speaking like this, but she did use pretty forceful rhetoric. We're at war, the gloves are off, and we have to get rid of these like aspirational mechanisms like nonpartisan redistricting committees, and we're going to do everything in our power to, proceed accordingly. This is good. Now, it just bears repeating that given that California and New York have independent redistricting committees, it's going to be more challenging for California and New York to do what Texas is doing.
We'll pass an amendment. We'll vote to pass an amendment here.
But I'm hoping, I'm confident that if we can just make the case and prosecute the case relentlessly, that it stands a good chance. And I've had, of course, people in 100%. My replies, as I'm sure you guys have had in yours. Well, this is just a race to the bottom now, and it's like, okay, if we don't do anything, they're going to run roughshod over us anyway, and we lose. And if you're saying if we fight back, we still may lose, well, at least it increases the likelihood.
You can just ignore those people. I don't think they're serious people.
No, but I completely reject, at the very least, the race to the bottom rhetoric with regard to the issue of gerrymandering. Because, again, we said it was either the last show or the show before last, that, look, this is about aggregate enfranchisement, okay? In the state of Texas, as a Democrat, as someone who wants to be represented by Democrats, I am functionally not only basically unable to run for office, right? Because, there's no fucking Democratic seats left.
You definitely are, right? As of this train.
Hey. Mom Donnie in New York, okay? That's clearly the people yearn for it, okay?
That's New York, buddy.
No.
60 seat.
But, yeah, exactly. But no, that's what I'm saying is that there's not even any seats left to run for in the state of Texas if you're a Democrat. And obviously, if you're voting for Democrats, you're essentially completely unrepresented because of the gerrymandering in places like Texas. And so by gerrymandering in places like California and New York, it's not perfect, but I would rather be represented by a New York Democrat than not represented at all, right? And that's what would be happening if Democrats took their same line that they've taken the last 15 years of we're too good to gerrymander. We're the ones above it. It's disenfranchisement for our own base and sort of radical enfranchisement for the Republican base. And that's clearly not fair.
Yeah. It's also in the long run, if you really want to get rid of partisan gerrymandering, that's going to happen through Congress, through some kind of congressional legislation, which gives to the power of the states as an initial matter to decide these issues, but Congress carries a residual power to overrule them. And so Congress could, if it wanted to, establish these kinds of independent ways of gerrymandering.
So this is the first poll I've seen about this. KCRA, California support for redrawing congressional maps, 52% support.
That'll pass.
That was the numbers 41%
oppose. And
is there some kind of constitutional threshold that you need like 2/3 or something? What's the threshold to support an amendment?
Majority
in California? I thought it was 2/3 for a constitutional amendment.
Well, I think it's like to get it on the ballot, you need you need some sort of like congressional, maybe it's more than a majority. But my understanding is that California has they have like 1 billion ballot initiatives every single election because basically they put everything on the ballot. And I think it's just a majority vote.
Well, wait a minute. Hutch, I thought this wasn't just a ballot initiative. I thought this was part of, because if things go on a ballot initiative and it passes, it doesn't become part of the Constitution, right? It just becomes like California law. This would be a California amendment, wouldn't it? This would be
it says amendments can be proposed by the California state legislature or through a citizen-initiated ballot measure. Legislative proposals require a 2/3 majority vote in both the Assembly and the Senate before being placed on the ballot for voter approval, emphasizing consensus among elected representatives. Citizen-initiated amendments empower the electorate to propose changes directly. This process requires collecting signatures from registered voters amounting to 8% of the... Hold on, let me see. And is it just? I think it's just a simple majority for that.
Really, a convoy's right about that? Holy fuck! Then yeah, it feels like inevitable.
They have. It's not just it's not just the constitutional amendment, but like Hutch, I'm sure is aware that when you vote as a Californian, they have they have so many ballot initiatives. Like every single time there's an election cycle in California, because they just have
there's like 2 dozen.
They just have a culture of just doing a bunch of fucking ballot initiatives. I mean, it's the same thing. Like there was like a 5-year period where they banned gay marriage, but then they immediately unbanned it, right? So it's just,
wait, quick question. So is the order of operations that you propose either through the legislative method or the the referendum method, an amendment to be voted on this November, and then that would be operative for the next year, or what's the order of operations? Hutch?
I think you can.
Not to put you on the spot.
I think you can just put it to. I think you can just put it to a vote like right away. I don't know if you have to wait for the election.
Oh, interesting.
That's pretty based. Let me do some homework here.
Yeah. Well, while he's doing that, I should also point out, just kind of like haphazardly, while I was scrolling here, I saw that Brazil has ordered the arrest of former President Jair Bolsonaro. Yeah, get it? Functioning democracies arresting the Trump of the tropics. And speaking of arrest, I would be remiss not to point out that on the topic of the California, where is it? Excuse me, Texas Democrats. I'm sorry. Is that Governor Abbott has issued arrest warrants for the Democrats who left the state to block congressional redistricting. Pisco,
on what authority?
Lawyer.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
Not sure.
You tell me how this magical Texas warrant works, about how you can send Texas law enforcement into Illinois and snatch people the fuck out of Illinois.
Yeah, so you could. So there's a full faith and credit clause of the Constitution, which says basically the states of the several states need to give respect to the judicial orders and writs and what is a warrant if not like a judicial order to seize someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So presumably some Texas, representative or some Texas official from the state could march into an Illinois court and try to get some kind of order that would be applicable in Illinois to seize these legislatures. But I don't know. I just don't know the proceduralism of it in Texas. I don't know how it would interact, and I haven't done research on this specific issue. But I have no clue.
There was a rep from Texas named Yolanda Jones who I think addressed this somewhat directly. She basically, this was her claim. I guess I'm not sure if she's definitively the one to go to on this, but she basically said, "Look, I'm a former attorney. I understand that number one, this isn't actually there's no statute for this being a felony charge. I think that Abbott and the Republican goons alluded to, and then he also mentioned that things like subpoenas. A Texas subpoena is basically only valid insofar as the Illinois law enforcement is willing to agree that it's valid, right? And so there's every possibility in the world that these law enforcement agents in Illinois and New York basically just say no, we're not gonna honor this. We're not gonna cooperate in basically removing these people from the state if they don't want to. So I think that leaves my understanding. Abbott
is toothless. It looks like so. According to the Texas Tribune here, they will not face civil or criminal charges from the arrest. The warrants apply only within state lines, making them largely symbolic, as most of the legislators in question decamp to Illinois, New York, and Massachusetts to forestall the passage of the GOP's proposed redraw.
I feel like this is politically bad for them, because I feel like a majority of Americans oppose partisan gerrymandering. So if they would go to war and actually try to arrest legislators, I feel like I don't know how much of a political price he would pay in Texas, but I don't think that would reflect well on the party. On the national scale, just real quick, I did look it up, and the process would be, I think what Newsom is proposing, the legislature votes to put it to the voters. That has a high threshold. If you think of a 2/3 in both chambers, the voters, the governor can then call for an election, or would we call it an election, or I don't know what we would call that. The governor can make that vote happen right away. He doesn't have to wait until the primaries. So.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. The last, I was just gonna say the last Hail Mary from basically the Texas government, which I think is especially pretty bizarre. Essentially, there's a Texas Attorney General opinion that Greg Abbott referenced in one of his statements, where the Texas Attorney General essentially said in one of his memos, right, that, hey, based on the interpretation, like you have like some sense of duty to show up for these votes and this and that. If you fail to do that, the Texas Attorney General's interpretation is, and I don't know if this predates Ken Paxton or if it's Ken Paxton himself, but the interpretation is like, well, the governor can basically just say that these seats are vacant, and they're not technically even like in office anymore, and so technically your quorum requirement would go down radically, and you could have special elections for all those people. I have no idea if that would hold up, because it's an attorney general's opinion. My understanding is that there's no actual statute which gives the governor the authority
you would need to file lawsuits. So these are quo warranto actions. So this is what I think the Supreme Court should have allowed for us to do with Trump, is to file a quo warranto action to declare that Trump is not the president of the United States under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. But they foreclosed that by requiring specific legislation to enforce Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. But my understanding is that you would need to file a quo warranto action to declare, to have some kind of judicial ruling that these offices are in fact vacant. And that could spell trouble in terms of litigation if the Texas courts disagree, or if there's like inconsistent rulings throughout Texas. A lot of trouble.
Yeah, so Kyle Cheney, who is the senior legal affairs reporter at Politico, he did a thing about this, a short thread, and obviously not necessarily controlling, but he says, Abbott says he might treat fleeing lawmakers as having forfeited their offices and moved to replace them. He also suggests they could be subject to felony charges if they accept payments to cover impending fines. Notably, the Paxton opinion that Abbott cites doesn't actually say lawmakers who break quorum are removable. In fact, it says this is a fact-specific question only resolvable by a court. The opinion also does not say it's unconstitutional to break quorum. The opinion by Paxton explicitly takes no position on whether breaking quorum is unconstitutional because, as Paxton says, it was tied up in litigation at the time. So, and this is like at the heart of an article he wrote talking about how the threats against these lawmakers are much more toothless than Abbott would have you believe.
I think the sight of, like, if we play this out and if Paxton did literally put Texas Democrats in handcuffs, I feel like Democratic voter base would fucking love that, because they've been telling Booker, we want you guys to be ready to take a bullet. So if they see images of Texas Democrats that are willing to allow themselves to be arrested in service of trying to obstruct, then I think
Booker,
that would play
who has
well.
still not endorsed Mamdani, and I think that we should be true and like pressure all of our Democratic politicians to endorse the Democratic nominee. And so I just want to take the moment to really say in the strongest possible way, Cory Booker, it is your job now to support the Democratic nominee. If it's vote blue no matter who, it should be for Mamdani as well.
Yeah, I've been catching a lot of shit about that today. That's the latest like pushback, that because I saw that and I was infuriated by his non-answer. And it's like we talked about before. Vote blue no matter who is a perfect, like just logically infallible, command to liberals and progressives, and it's the embodiment of harm reduction. But the thing is, it's based on reciprocity, or should be based on reciprocity. Now, I'd argue, even if people don't actually vote blue no matter who, like if liberals don't do it in this instance or leftists don't do it, just as a general rule, you should still do it anyway, because it increases the likelihood of putting Democrats in power, which is just objectively better for their constituents and for the country as a whole. But it does need to cut both ways. And I shout vote blue no matter who, and I know the rest of us do, which means I think we're obligated for the sake of consistency to say, if you are asked about the Democratic nominee in New York City, you should give the same sort of answer to that. Because some people say, well, New York City mayor is not a national office. Why would Cory Booker comment? It's like, shut the fuck up. Cory Booker comments and endorses candidates for non-national offices all the time.
That's
if pure cope.
Cuomo, he would endorse.
Yes,
and if it
that's
were
pure.
Cuomo,
That's pure cope. You have one correct answer, and that is to say, I support the Democratic nominee, no matter what the race is, and any other answer from Swazi, Booker, anybody is objectively wrong. We all agree with that, right?
I agree on paper. However, the fact that Mamdani was a part of Uncommitted does make that argument a little bit more difficult.
I think it changes. I think sincerely it changes.
You can shake your head, but I mean, he did not endorse Kamala Harris for her president.
And it's wrong and stupid after the primaries for people to not back the Democratic nominee, be it Mamdani or anyone else. I totally agree with you. That doesn't change it. But the thing is, Well, pick one. Are we going to vote blue no matter who and support that edict, or are we just going to forfeit? Because if you're not going to, I think then you're obligated to not ever criticize him for not backing the Democratic candidate if we're not going to enforce that standard ourselves. So the only way to levy that charge against Mamdani and say you fucked up by not backing Kamala is you have to uphold it too. I'm going to back you for this, but you fucked up. And I think it's a perfectly fair question for somebody to ask him, like, hey, listen, people are pressuring liberals to back you despite enormous disagreements with aspects of your policy or your worldview.
Do you regret not endorsing?
Do you regret not supporting, because he voted for, but not supporting Vice President Kamala Harris? Given, Jesus, didn't I just see somewhere today that Netanyahu is trying to fire the Attorney General investigating him for corruption, and he's approved a plan to invade and occupy Gaza?
Well, they've already invaded, but that means permanently occupied.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I think that'd be perfectly fair to put that on him and be like, hindsight being what it is, didn't you fuck up spectacular? But we have to be consistent. I don't care what he did. We have to be consistent, in my opinion.
It's just, it is just harder to make that argument specifically for him, though.
I don't think it is, though, because I think it is sensible to kind of establish kind of a pre-mayoral election and a post-mayoral election Mamdani, where it is clear that by virtually every account, Mamdani had much more radical rhetoric and much more radical positions before he ran for New York mayor. And it's clear that after, basically becoming a mainstream, well, it's not just that he's moderated, but he's also become much more of a team player, right? To the extent that we would say oh, well, that's just him bullshitting because now he's in a position where he has to do that. It's okay, whatever. I just think that we're in a position where every Democrat should support every general election Democrat, right?
Yeah.
We criticize the uncommitted movement for similar similar actions, right? And I think at the end of the day, look, it's one thing if you're a Democrat and you want to say, look, I just don't get involved in primaries. I think that's dumb, but I don't have a lot of judgment for that. If you don't want to get involved in primaries, whatever. He's the Democratic nominee, and every Democrat should support every Democratic nominee, unless it's some completely wild fucking, I don't know, there's no one else on the ballot and somehow a neo-Nazi is the Democratic nominee or something. But that's not this, right?
Can I construct a hypothetical just to test that a little bit? I agree with you mostly. I agree with you. I'm with what you're saying. But would you say that you're saying that are you saying every national Democrat should endorse Mamdani? Or let's imagine there's a Democrat serving in a really purple district and they have a really moderate constituency. And that person was worried that by endorsing Mamdani, it would cause political fallout for them, possibly would endanger them in the midterms or something. Would you be understanding if a national Democrat just refused to endorse anyone in that spot just for pragmatic reasons?
I'd be highly suspicious of that. I'm highly not. It would have to be some exceedingly good reason that I believe is necessary. But the answer generally is going to be no, because I think you can couch your statement in such a way as to say I do not agree with Mamdani's policies. I think that Mamdani was the wrong choice out of the primary. That said, given the choice between the two, I think that people should support the Democratic nominee. There's a way you can signal support. Or you can signal lack of support or anger and upset it. The same way a lot of these Republicans endorse Trump that are upsetty spaghetti, but they do it nonetheless. And I think that is what's needed at this moment. And we criticize, we never, if, for example, even if Manchin were running, maybe Manchin would be a case where it's okay, some independent who really has broken off from the party. There could be some exceedingly particular circumstances which I think would justify a non-endorsement. And just to be clear, even if someone didn't endorse Mamdani, if they're the Democratic nominee in their respective jurisdiction, I'm still going to vote for them. I just think it's something that we should try to push the Democrats to be unified and not disunified.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reasonable response.
Yeah, I agree with Pisco. I just think especially like Cory Booker's from, this is New Jersey we're talking about, right?
New Jersey.
It's a blue plus 25 state or some shit, right? And obviously
Adam Friended, I think, is in my chat right now.
Oh,
yeah, I saw him in the chat.
I think he's here for the drama.
He can only see two of us because he's blocked the other two.
Shit.
Pisco, if you could focus in, because you're blurred. There you go. Yeah.
Sit up, Pisco. Come on.
Sit the fuck up.
Doing a
Stop
goddamn
slapping.
show.
God
Christ.
damn. The chairman commands you stand at attention.
I think I agree. I think I agree with you guys in principle. I am sympathetic to someone who is serving like a super moderate constituency. Like, do I really care? Should we really try to force, like an Ohio Democrat to endorse Bondi? Or is it okay for them to just be like, okay, that's in New York. I don't really have an opinion.
I think with New York's election specifically, I don't know that there's many circumstances where I would say it is okay, because like this is a scenario where, like, yes, you have a Democratic Socialist as the Democratic nominee, but you've got like no credible other options, like even conceivable credible other options in the mayor's race, right? You've got Cuomo, disgraced, completely corrupt, like sex pest type.
Yeah, but he's currently dominating the polls right now. So it is an endorsement from like an Ohio Ohio representative.
I think that we just have to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If you keep your mouth shut,
I take your point. But here's my question, and maybe the answer is yes. If AOC is asked to endorse a moderate Democrat and she says, "I'm not commenting," would you give her a pass for that?
Yeah.
It depends. It depends on the situation.
All I'm saying is we have to be consistent.
I'm giving you a hyper-specific example, though. But like you're giving me. Well,
but like, okay, take like Rashida Tlaib. Like, do you think it was understandable for her to support uncommitted because she has like the Dearborn district?
Yes.
I don't know about that.
All right, I mean, you're consistent.
Well, that's all I care about. Yes. We just have to signal consistency, which is like the default is usually we expect progressives to not just vote for, but to endorse and support moderate candidates. And if that is the blanket expectation, it's got to go the other way. If we're going to have little asterisks.
I'm saying that every.
No. That's what I'm saying. I think he is.
Saying it depends on your constituents. And Rashida Tlaib, she has a direct familial connection to Gaza. So like, I have not loved all of her rhetoric, but I've always contextualized it, and I understand why she's saying the things that she says.
That sounds consistent to me.
But you do give her a pass on Kamala?
Yeah,
that's what you just said. Yeah.
I do.
Perfect. There you go. No. That's consistent.
It's not ideal for me, but I don't look at it and go. I get pissed. I look at it and I'm like, kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But you don't give all of Dearborn a pass. I mean, like, that's the thing. People are putting this in our face. Like, look at these fucking traitors. They don't even support the candidate. You're willing to give Rashida Tlaib a pass, but not like.
No, I think they were all misguided. Movement. I think they were all misguided. I think it was bad political strategy. Like, I don't think that's an effective way to like use leverage. Because obviously it's led to just really horrible outcomes.
What you're expressing right now, Hutch, and you're my boy. I gotta say that you're my boy.
You don't need to.
But you are my boy. I just gotta say you're my boy.
You can be direct with me. It's fine.
But being direct with you, like, there is this feeling of anger. I have to be honest. I feel it too when we think about like a lot of this uncommitted movement and what they did in terms of saying that it's conceivable even that we might not vote for Kamala Harris, and I don't think that most people share or at least most people on the Blue MAGA side share your kind of hands-off, everyone love everybody, and these people, they were confused. I think it's more anger at these people for like betraying something they valued.
No, I'm angry at the uncommitted movement. I'm just saying for Rashida Tlaib specifically, I grade her on a curve on this because of her direct connection to that region. Mm-hmm. And so I do think, like, I don't know if she was mostly responsible for uncommitted. I think she signed up for the movement after the fact. But I mean, I understand why they felt they needed to, why they felt they needed to try to exert leverage in that way. Obviously, I disagree with their methods.
Oh, definitely in the primary.
I hope they learn the lesson, but.
Yeah, definitely in the primary. I don't think anybody here has any sort of like. I thought it was perfectly fine for the uncommitted movement in the primary to try to extract policy concessions from President Biden. There's nothing wrong with that. You're leveraging the power of your vote. You're not obligated, I think, especially early on. It's like we talked about before, like, shooting for the moon with ideal progressive candidates in the primary. Like that's your moment to strike. But once it got to the general, it was.
Adam sent a $20 super chat, and I don't know what it said because Ahmad cleared it.
God,
why would you
pocket the money and
Jesus? What did it say?
That was probably a good.
What did the message say?
I did.
Adam, if you're still watching, Hutch's mod fucked you. So just type it out again.
Oh, wait, I can just look it up on Streamlabs here. 1 second.
Yeah, type it out again.
Well, besides the gerrymandering, what are the other big stories of the week?
Well, listen,
Jenk was on Jubilee.
We'll get. I
didn't watch that.
Bro, it's difficult. Before we get to that, though, I do the other big arrest thing was So I have not had a chance to dive into this at all. I hope Pisco did, but Attorney General Bondi orders prosecutors to start grand jury probe into Obama officials over Russia investigation. And I do want to ask Pisco about this if he's read it, and also if he's prepared to on stream apologize to the obviously vindicated Matt Taibbi, who after all these years.
They're trying desperately to cover up for the Epstein thing. And here I'm not saying that there's necessarily this grand conspiracy, but just like the Epstein story has been this constant just weight on the administration. Now, so far, the answers from the administration have been, hey, look at the shiny object over here. Like they said the same thing about the MLK tapes. They were like, don't worry about it, try to bury it. So right now they're trying to feed red meat to this conspiracy class of influencer. Put in that bucket Jack Posobiec, put in that bucket Matt Taibbi, put in that bucket I don't know, even Charlie Kirk type people,
Benny Johnson, all these guys.
Benny Johnson, they want to give red meat to these people to say, hey, we're following you in your terms of like your conspiratorial mythology. We're doing something that you guys will like. And so they're going after some of these people like Clapper et al., Comey, maybe Hillary Clinton, for ostensibly some like false statement charges potentially. But query what those false statements are. Everything I've read has been complete and utter horseshit and dog shit. And also their rhetoric is a lot louder than I think what the substance of the evidence is showing. They're saying things like this is a treasonous, seditious conspiracy, but no evidence that would support that kind of charge. So yeah, I mean, I expect there, as I predicted already, to be some charges into this matter, but I think it's all garbage, bullshit, but we'll look into it when it happens.
Why don't you talk a little bit about like the potential consequences for a lawyer who brings up fraudulent indictments? Like, what does that actually look like?
Yeah, I mean, like, the standard is very, very, in terms of sanctionable conduct, the standard is for bringing a case that is like so filled with lies or so bad faith, to disbar someone on that basis is going to be a super, super high standard. So I wouldn't expect there. I would expect there to be some nucleus of fact that would save these people from sanctions specifically. And I mean, think about it, like, some of these lawyers walked into court offices on the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case and like blatantly lied to judges about different facts of the matter. So I don't think that whatever they're going to put in front of a court, I don't expect it to be so divorced from some kind of factual nucleus. I just think that what will happen is, and they won't be like, they'll have some plausible argument for why they're not lying to the court. They'll have some theory. The theory probably is making some extrapolations that aren't supported by the evidence, but I doubt it will, stray into sanctionable conduct. But we'll see.
And there's no, Pisco, just to be clear, there's also no civil route to hold these people accountable, right? Because they're like, government agents, and there's like this like huge presumption of good. Like essentially, like Obama can't claim like I'm being harassed by the government, right? Like this is all fucking just a huge deplorable targeting of me, and he couldn't like sue Pam Bondi in civil court and expect to win.
Well, yeah, he could, couldn't he?
So there are doctrines
defamation.
of
Sorry.
Well, the government, when it makes out statements like their doctrines of sovereign immunity, and even like more to the point, like there are doctrines of substantive civil immunity for different officers, including the president, and the president absolute civil immunity when it comes to certain statements they make that are within the scope of their office. So if you remember, like this criminal immunity case, Trump versus United States, it actually is derived somewhat on a previous case, Nixon versus Fitzgerald, having to do with like potential sanctionable conduct. And as long as the president or one of his minions can claim that these kind of statements are being made in furtherance of their office, I doubt that there's going to be some kind of cognizable cause of action against them in a civil sense. And yeah, in general, though, I'll say one thing about the immunity decision that would help like Obama. I think it's very unlikely that you could ever charge successfully Obama for any of the conduct related to investigations or, pushing for one narrative versus the other narrative. That seems to be quite clearly in the scope of Trump versus United States. And so I don't expect there to be some like humongous seditious conspiracy case. What I expect are some kind of bullshit charges on some false statements for a couple people. It'll probably happen, but nothing much that the people can do about it except wait.
The Bondi thing is such a telling moment because it exposes just how much of like how fucking pathetic these right-wing influencers are, because it should be a fucking layup for them to toss her under the bus. Like that's such an easy position to take because you can deflect the blame away from the boss, from the big guy.
Yeah.
How many people fucking knew who Pam Bondi was before this year. I mean, some people knew about like the Trump University shit, but not.
Well, no,
many
she was
people
the
knew about
second
that.
string. She was the second string choice for Attorney General, right? It was Matt
Just chuck
Gaetz.
her on the fucking bus, but they're still just like, well, I don't know, because Trump wants to stay loyal to her for whatever reason.
Well, because she's being a good, lapdog, good Rottweiler, and just doing whatever she wants. She's made the DOJ like a de facto office within the executive office of the president, within the White House.
Pissed at her though, because
Oh,
she's
sure.
the one.
Reportedly,
she's the reason why Epstein is salient right now.
It was Politico. I think it was Politico. It might have been the Washington Post, but I'm pretty sure it was Politico. They did like an op-ed where like behind the scenes, Trump is super pissed about how this Epstein situation was managed, but it's kind of like with the Pete Hegseth Signalgate thing, which is what he has told his top advisors is he doesn't want to fire anybody because he's afraid it'll, number one, make us happy. Like instead of owning the libs, we'll all be like laughing and mocking him. Number two, it will just it'll have a Streisand effect and make this even more of a scandal. Oh, this is actually objectively bad enough that you felt the need to shit can your deputy FBI director, your FBI director, your attorney general. But it's funny, you were talking about scapegoating Bondi. That was the other thing I wanted to mention from that YouGov UMass poll that I found so interesting is that was the first poll I've seen where it asks, who do you blame for the Epstein files being concealed? And I was expecting Bondi to be number one. She wasn't. She was
no.
number
You
two.
got to be really online with that.
81% of respondents blame Trump, which is what it should be. But that's they've been working overtime to insulate him. Oh yeah, and pin it all on Bondi, and it's not working.
That tells you 20% of the country is sufficiently online to follow these conversations.
100%.
Yeah.
So let's see. So there was
we had Trump firing the head of the BLS.
Oh God, yeah.
Jeez, bro, that's crazy, you guys.
Wow.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Are there neutral third party financial institutions that give their own numbers that we can rely on?
The ADP gives.
They do. They're not as the gold standard is always the government numbers. So I mean, there are other there's like other parties that try to basically do data analysis and like similar techniques to the federal government, but the gold standard has historically always been the government numbers. And
that's fucking
I don't know if it is. I think people might they might be overreacting a little bit, because I'd be very hesitant to say like you just can't trust the government numbers now, right? Because the reality is, by replacing the head of the snake or whatever, I mean, it's not necessarily the case that all of the different sort of like bureaucratic processes are fundamentally fucked.
I totally disagree with you. You don't think
you make her sound like Cobra Commander?
Well, yeah, but that's what
you don't think that this is going to have like a chilling effect? You don't think other people, when they're getting ready to release their numbers, they're not going to be thinking to myself like, "Fuck, like, if I release bad numbers, I'm going to get fired."
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying it's a totally unfounded concern, but I think that in general, right? Like, I think that these numbers, number one, have always been imperfect. Like the old saying is like, oh, the most accurate numbers are the government numbers 6 months later. In part because there's always revisions like this. There's always, revisions and restatements. And that's part of the reason why it's so insane that Trump fired this lady.
She revised Biden's numbers. She revised his numbers down.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, could we clear the timeline on this? Because one of the things Trump keeps saying, and I keep seeing like MAGA fucking morons like Benny Johnson, who is genuinely one of the dumbest people. David Pakman put out a really good video saying like he's like botting his subscribers or indicating he might be, and then like this other channel did this like deep dive in how Benny Johnson's just the fucking worst. Anyway, terrible guy.
Benny Johnson is the worst guy.
The worst. But these people are like they're running with this thing that she gave Biden and Kamala really good numbers, and then after the election, they revised it down by like 800,000. That revision came in August, before the fucking election.
Yeah, because I remember us talking about it and Rob Noor bringing up like, "Oh my God, a conspiracy because they changed the numbers."
You do a really good Rob, and that your heart wasn't in it right then. Like you didn't even try. Like that was like it was like it's gotta you gotta have the Yago screech.
Oh yeah, But he was very pissed about the revisions of the numbers. But the theory isn't even coherent. Yeah, you're right. Those revisions happened right before the election. I heard it. It was a talking point. You can't believe them. And now it's like, okay, so they revised Trump's numbers, or they improved Trump's numbers on purpose, manipulated them to make them look good right after he did the tariff ones, and then changed them like right now. What's the actual theory?
another thing that's bizarre about that is that what lines up more cleanly, that there was a conspiracy to make Trump look better than he otherwise would have looked, right? Because this was a downward revision, or that Trump engaged in a process by which we had an unprecedented level of uncertainty. And so because of that, all the surveys that they used to actually come to these numbers were fucked because people genuinely didn't know what was going on. By every poll, by every survey, basically there was a huge amount of uncertainty in the economy during the months that were revised down. And that also, the fact that they were revised down aligns with that very same level of uncertainty. Not only were the numbers fucked, but the uncertainty caused hiring to pull back significantly because companies didn't know what the fuck was going on
in the
because of the Trump administration.
And I remember when the reports dropped in May and June, I remember like Market Watch and a couple of other places were like, these numbers are surprisingly good because they seem out of total alignment with other market indicators at the time. So they were outliers, and these revised numbers more accurately reflect the other economics, more in better alignment with the other economic data as a consequence of the tariffs. Like the whole thing is fucking stupid. But to Hutch's point, Trump's previous BLS commissioner, William Beach, who served 2 years, by the way, under Biden, and like it's just a thing that happens. They leapfrog. They have a 4-year fixed term. Even he said the same thing, which is, it is true that it is false what Trump is saying, that the data are easily manipulatable, and the Biden appointee, I butcher her name, it's like McIntyre, was something like that, but she's competent, experienced. It's very unlikely that she could possibly manipulate anything. But he did warn that moving forward, it will have a chilling effect, very likely, on the entire BLS, because they could all be shit canned if they produce a report that conflicts with
the
what
president
Trump,
doesn't like.
Yeah, it's like fuck. Piers Morgan called him out on that today. Like, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's not good, and I'm surprised. This, I think, of all the like bureaucratic level firings, this has generated by far the most consistent high profile backlash. It's trending on Twitter for days. You know?
Yeah, and I think people have every reason to be skeptical, at the very least, like skeptical of the numbers now that this has happened under the Trump administration, right? My only point is that I think that the numbers will broadly still reflect the real economy, at least as they get revised in the future, which again is just a totally.
We'll see how their numbers compare to these other third party.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? I think as well, like it's kind of difficult, I think, to some radical degree to like lie about these numbers, because the real economy is just what it is, right? If there's like mass unemployment, it doesn't matter if the fucking BLS says, oh, unemployment's at a record low, right? Like that's obviously pretty stupid. And so I don't think that that's necessarily going to work. And then there's going to be these private like companies, and you see these divergences in the data, which isn't going to make sense. And then as well, people can audit the methodologies of how these numbers are getting released. And if there's any like restatements in methodology, I think it's going to be pretty obvious to people. But that's, I mean, I think unfortunately, I think that Trump and like the MAGA movement has kind of like laid the groundwork for this very thing not having a big kind of like grabbing effect, at the very least on their own base, because for years and years and years, like every debate with Rob Noor, what does he say about the economics? It's fake. It's all fake. None of it's real. Right. And it's like, you can show him like graph after graph after graph. And to which case, when people like Rob are backed in a corner, oh, it's just fake. The numbers are fake. They're not real. There's no reason to trust the numbers.
My MAGA dad does the same thing. Like anytime there's a Democrat in office and they have like good jobs numbers, he always says the same thing. Well, I mean, those numbers are obviously fake. I mean, this is like a really normal kind of thought process for MAGA people.
We should just start doing that. We should just start doing it more if it's fake. It's fake.
And no, I was just going to say that, and this, unfortunately, I think it lays the groundwork for, at the very least, like the base to not really take any of this very, if anything, for the base to think like, oh, like this is good, like we're going to finally get like the real numbers now, right? And then you're going to have Democrats, you're going to have people like us that are going to go on shows and be like, well, look, there's at least like good reason to think that these numbers are somewhat suspect because of, well, they diverge from the real economy. Trump literally said he would fire people that fucking disagree with him on the numbers, right? And even though there were no analogs under the Biden administration or the Obama administrations of them doing substantially the same thing, then, and this will be my favorite part of how this debate matures in the future, oh, you're freaking out and saying the numbers are fake just like we were.
Right.
Just like we were.
Drawing
Look
the
at you now that
equivalence.
Trump.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Even though it is completely different in kind.
Well, they do it with Pisco all the time about like prosecutions and stuff like that. Like, oh, you have an issue with Trump
emails?
Yeah, you have you have a Trump or a problem with Trump and the Trump administration prosecuting or potentially investigating Obama or whoever it is. You supported the prosecutions against Trump. Get wrecked, loser.
Yeah. I mean, well, I'll have to be fielding those comments and comparisons forever. Listen, comparisons are fun. We love comparing things. I'm a big comparer. You know, I like to compare before I conclude. But honestly, sometimes these comparisons just result in, I think, a worse outcome for the Trump people. Like if you substantively compare the conduct of Trump with the classified document situation and Biden's, every extra amount of research you do on that will make you more and more certain that the substantive outcomes being different was justified. Although ultimately, you know, the case was dropped. I think it should be resumed again after he comes out of office, given how culpable that conduct is. But yeah.
All right. We have a hard out in 25 minutes because Econoboy, right? There's you go ahead.
I was just gonna say because I know you want to talk about the Jenk thing.
There's something else too that we haven't even talked about, which is fucking insane. The disaster funds, conditioning disaster funds.
They reportedly put. I saw that right before that we jumped on that they apparently eliminated that language after backlash.
Okay.
But yeah,
which is crazy.
If it's a non-story now, then I guess. But
that was their inclination because it's still a story because they wanted to do that. What they wanted to do was to condition like state emergency funds on substantive support or lack of support or perceived lack of support for Israel. Once again, fucking with the states, fucking with you to protect Israel, fucking with your rights and your state's rights for Israel.
It is so politically fucking stupid because can you imagine if he withdraws disaster preparedness funds for, let's say, like California, and then there's like a massive fire, and let's say like a bunch of people die, and a community is like really struggling to, you know, rebuild and get shelter and stuff like that. That would be politically so toxic for the entire Republican Party. Like independents would revolt against something like that.
You're actually dying for Israel at that point. I mean, then you're literally dying for Israel.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah. So according to Sagar, who I think he went viral, I don't know if it's fair to say he broke the story, but he certainly went viral with the initial claim. He said the Trump administration has removed the language requiring states to not allow the boycotting of Israel to be eligible for disaster funds, original versus new. But I think it's a fair point to say it still deserves condemnation because their inclination is just towards censorship and towards conditionalizing. I mean, they basically campaigned on it during the 2024 election, and then as the wildfire at the end of 2024 and into 2025 was taking hold in California, they kept talking about it too. And then you add the Israel component that pissed off a lot of MAGA, the America First and anti-Semitic wings of MAGA as well. Like it pissed everybody off and a lot of the people in their base. And I wonder now though, since he eliminated the language, if they're just going to give him a pass on this, you know?
That's not going to stay in this. If he eliminated the language, no one's going to be talking about it in 2 days. But if they would have stuck with that, I think that would have been really politically disastrous. I mean, look how they savaged Biden for their perception that he didn't do anything for North Carolina and Florida and fucking, even though all the governors were like, yeah, we got all the support we need, blah, blah, blah.
But doesn't that black pill you a little bit, Hutch? Now Hutch has this fascinating new term he has for the kind of people that he doesn't like.
It's a good term.
I still like the flow chart. The flow chart left, but okay.
What's the flow chart?
It's the same.
I've seen enough of Connor Points' little diagrams. Has he shown you a diagram before, guys? I don't know. Anyway,
no. We're doing the flow chart that always comes back to fuck the Democrats. Like whatever your analysis is, it goes down to fuck. Yeah, that's what he means by that.
Isn't it blackpilling for you though that like in the North Carolina example, Joe Biden didn't do anything substantively wrong. All the governors agree that he was doing everything that he could be doing, but they still made hay out of it. Doesn't it mean?
No, that was super. Like what? Because they fully believed it. Like the whole MAGA space online, they were not. You know, the grifters were lying, obviously, but their followers were fully. And
there were real people who refused help because of some of the conspiracies that they were being traded on. Anyway, all I'm saying is, I feel like there's a lack of connection these days. I'm not going to say a total lack of connection, but some less, because I still, Laksha has convinced me that there are some fundamentals that still matter, right? And I was always kind of inclined, even with the prices thing, that some fundamentals do matter. But I think that there's less of a connection now between the substance and what's actually occurring on the ground and like the media spin of it. And people at least in our online circles, are more convinced by the media spin, regardless of what the underlying merits are. And I think the best example of that is actually Josiah, when he keeps going back to the Teamsters and what Biden did for the pensions, that there's a lack of connection between the result and who they, give credit or blame for.
Yeah, when you talk to lefties, there's a lot of like, you guys are, what like class reductionism is. It's like everything comes down to like class issues.
Oh, we know. Ikama boy, he talks about that.
That's right.
Ikami boy.
Capitalist class.
And it's not that policy doesn't matter, but there are, when you have that perspective of like, all you got to do is just address material needs, and then people are going to change. Then you end up in this situation where like Vanguard was saying that AOC can go into West Virginia and, I guess shift the state 40 points towards Democrats.
Yeah, it's tough because ultimately you have to like, I think that a lot of the times the popularity of individual presidents comes in typically like your macro timing, unfortunately, matters a lot, right? That essentially, like if you take like Trump, for instance, if you ask people to really point out like how did Trump make the economy great in his first term, a lot of people will say like, oh, the tax cuts, or they'll say like, oh, deregulation, and those are essentially just like if you really, it's almost like talking to an NPC. Like those are like just talking points that they've heard. But if you ask them to describe like mechanically, like how did the bill do that? What were the regulations that were cut? Like it's ultimately just like a sense that people have. And to be fair, Democrats do the same exact thing, obviously. But I think that there is, to be fair, evidence. Like if you look at the University of Michigan survey, there is evidence, and I'm talking about the Consumer Confidence Survey split by partisan breakdown. There is evidence that Republicans are literally worse at this. Like they literally do. The phrase that the head of that survey used was that Republicans boo louder and cheer harder, right? That like there is
Krugman's
evidence
been complaining about this for years. Yeah.
There is evidence that obviously when a Democrat takes office, the Democrats all of a sudden they all automatically think that the economy is doing great. But when a Republican takes office, the Republicans are like, dude, the economy's fucking amazing, right? And it's like
January 20th, 12:02 p.m.
Right,
it's like, fuck yes, I've seen the last golden age of America.
The golden age.
And I can't, and I can't help but think that, I mean, there's a confluence of factors in this regard, but I mean, obviously, I think that part of it is, the project of Rupert Murdoch and like the Fox News sphere was to do this, right? It was literally to try and create multiple generations of people who know only the propaganda of their own network. And it's not just Fox News, because obviously the entire right-wing alternative media ecosystem does the same thing. Like, guys, how many posts have we seen where you've seen supposedly like not coordinating independent creators, Benny Johnson, Ben Shapiro, right? Like Charlie Kirk. They all literally someone sends them the tweets to send out.
It is almost word for word identical, and key phrases are identical.
It is an effort, which has clearly been successful, to propagandize to the base, and it's clearly it's as transparent an effort that's ever been undertaken over the last two generations, and it's worked, unfortunately.
I wanted to return though to Hutch's example though about the Teamsters thing, because this is important, and to me it's like the most illustrative example. I think it single-handedly debunks like this idea, again, policy delivers votes.
Unpack it for people in chat, maybe
Yeah. So back it was December 2022, President Biden released funds to backstop the Teamsters pensions. Teamsters, one of the biggest unions in the country. Their pensions were in serious jeopardy, and it was like $36 billion from the American Rescue Plan, which was passed on a partisan basis. Only Democrats voted for it. Every Republican voted in opposition. And Biden released 36, not million, billion dollars. And here's this asshole, Sean O'Brien, right here. I just put him in a red circle so you can see. The president of the Teamsters Union, standing behind the president of the United States, while he and the Democrats 100% save their pensions. And there are very few things in politics that are black and white, but this is something where literally no Republican in office gets any credit for this.
And the consequences of if he hadn't done that would have been enormous. People would have had to come out of retirement. Like people that were retired would have had to come out of retirement. People would have to delay their retirements. Like him doing that literally fucking saved the Teamsters.
100%.
And even despite that, just to finish up your unpacking, then even despite that, when they did internal polling, I think the reporting said that a third of Teamsters still supported Trump.
Yeah,
and that's why they didn't take a position.
Oh, it wasn't. No. It wasn't a third. I saw a majority.
It was a majority.
Yeah.
Is it a majority? Yeah.
Wait, I saw a majority.
Yes.
And so the Philadelphia Inquirer did a really good op-ed talking to Teamsters union members in kind of like a safari in like rural Pennsylvania and other places. And at the end of the day, they were more motivated by culture war issues than material needs. And so, not to say that Democrats aren't obligated to deliver, but this idea that if
not to say the policy doesn't matter either, right?
Right, but this idea that all you have to do is deliver and the votes come, it's like Field of Dreams, like fuck you. That is obviously not true, because any rational union member should have voted, every single one. That should have been 100% zero. Yeah. It could have been the most fucking redneck conservative union member. Like, listen, you know what? I don't like them gays all that much, them trans, but Joe Biden saved my pension, so I got to back it. That's how it should have been. And people who don't do that are fucking stupid and not rationally motivated.
Well, we don't have, I mean, in this country, right? I think one of the problems with like the Democratic thesis on, you know, essentially like things like labor solidarity and like, you know, class interest and things like that. Like, I think that one of the problems with that theory is that we don't have, like, this country does not have a labor movement. Like, that doesn't exist in this country, right? For the most part, I mean, what you see is, I think something like 10% of people in this country are part of a union. About half of that is private, about half of that is public. And you've seen, I mean, even at the height of the labor movement in this country, I think it was about a third of workers were part of a union, but it was only a third, right? That, like, you know, there was like so many subsequent efforts by so many subsequent administrations and Supreme Court rulings as well, which made the type of infrastructure that you need to form a labor movement in this country so difficult to actually do. Like, things like secondary strikes are literally illegal. Like, you can't do secondary strikes. Like, that's a solidarity building type thing. There's so many barriers to entry. There's so much kind of like tilt towards capital owners with regards to like forming unions that, you know, like, for instance, my grandma, who was part of a union, right? She does have like worker solidarity. Like, she will say things like, oh, like, I saw that the Norwegians went on a strike. Love to see that, right? Like, total solidarity from, you know, her to other people. But most people in this country just aren't part of a union. And so ultimately, and unfortunately, like, the people who are left as part of unions in this country is a very small minority of people in this country that have views that, you know, for various cultural reasons are just like very tilt conservative nowadays. Like, it's just not a very big sample of the population at this point, the people who are part of unions.
So we gotta, I know, because we're going to close on Jenk, and this is the perfect bridge. Sean O'Brien, Teamsters.
This segues perfectly into that.
It is, yeah, because of course, Jenk and Anna just fell in love with Sean O'Brien. They preferred him to Sean Fain. They said he was the best union leader in the country. I think they both said I thought he should run for office. Sean O'Brien, of course, cozies up to Trump. And one of my favorite parts about this, they're out there. Jenk does it. Anna does it. Sean O'Brien does it. Say, Lori Chavez DeRemer is like the second coming of labor secretaries.
Yeah, I saw that.
And to get fucking confirmed, she had to disavow the PRO Act, which was the very thing that caused Anna and Jenk and Sean O'Brien to support her in the first place. She's out here trying to spin Trump firing the BLS commissioner, who reports to her, by the way. And then, of course, we've hemorrhaged. It's like, what is it, 35,000 manufacturing jobs in the past 3 months? What a fucking joke. Which leads us to Jenk. Go ahead, Hutch. Here you go. Did you capture your reaction to it?
No, I was driving home from Nevada, so I was just listening to the audio. But
I don't know what we're about to play. I don't know what this is.
We're not going to play it. We're not. We'll get DCMA'd or whatever.
You can react to Jubilee if you pause like every fucking 20 seconds and like do a lot of commentary, then it's fine. But you can't just let it play. But Jenk went on Jubilee, and it was just so topical because I feel like it was hitting on subjects that have sort of bled out of this podcast into other communities in terms of all the dialogue. And I heard a familiar voice come on. It was IRI. Yep. And he gave me such a huge fucking erection listening to him because he was pushing back in exactly the kind of way that I want to see pushed back. But
he called Jenk a political pickup artist. He's like, just do this one trick.
He was like slamming left-wing populism, and he was like repping libs like really well. But Jenk was, and coincidentally, Hassan did an NPR interview where he was saying essentially the same thing from a different perspective. But both of them were basically saying that all you have to do is just promise good policy and then do good policy. And when IRI pushed back and said the reason why we couldn't get a public option is because we have 50 senators, and Jenk's reaction, his response was like full Green Lantern theory. He just said, well, it didn't happen because he didn't even try. And I mean, I could go into more details. I don't know if you guys watched.
The thing that really triggered me was he said he could get it done in 2 weeks because somebody was like, because it wasn't just IRI. There were some others.
Jenk.
There were some others who were like,
some other really good.
There was a lot of pushback. A lot of people are like, listen, tonally, I agree with you. I think Democrats are pussies. Like they said a lot of the same stuff that was said during the Vanguard interview. But like the one thing they also emphasized was that legislation is actually a lot harder than you're giving it credit for.
Yeah.
And Jenk interrupted. He lost his shit. He goes, I can get it done in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, but Jenk has, I mean, I feel like people forget this, and it's just people for some reason don't bring, I guess because it was so like not memorable, but like Jenk ran for president. Like
yes.
he tried.
He ran for Congress
like
before
his goal
that.
was 25%, so he could influence the platform. He got less than 1%, to be clear.
And he ran for Congress. And look, I think you can always say like, look, oh my goodness, like there's all this like media propaganda, and there was never a chance that I'd be able to do this and that, right? And it's like, okay, but Jenk, if the theory is that all you need to do is be a charismatic guy and run on policies that poll well, you've done that. Like you yourself
guy.
have done. Yeah, like
he says this is why he is lefty MAGA. It is so MAGA adjacent the way that he reacts to failures electorally when it comes to like progressive candidates or Justice Dem candidates. There's always it's the donors, it's AIPAC, it's the Democratic establishment, it was rigged. It was like it's the same exact rhetoric applied in a different way. And so for them, there's never any kind of sense of let me do some introspection and figure out where I can, increase support with certain demographics. Yeah. There's none of that. It's always just it was stolen from us. It was rigged.
It's a totally incomplete theory of politics, right? I mean, at the same time, people don't like why didn't that work against Trump? There were literally, when Trump was running for president, there were literally like billionaire coordinated meetings to try and stop Trump from becoming the nominee, like to try and consolidate support, to really try to get a lane that's not Trump because everyone was so scared of Trump. And it didn't work. It hasn't worked when MAGA has substantially taken over the party. I don't think Republicans are like different than Democrats. Now, look, I agree that, organizations like AIPAC and like I hate money in politics. It's terrible. It's clearly, I think, has a detrimental effect on our democracy, and it clearly does make a marginal difference in the outcomes of elections. But but that's what I'm criticizing for Jenk. Jenk has a myopic view of politics, right? He seems to think basically you can predict who's going to win based on who has more donor money, right? And you can also predict who's going to get shit done based on essentially who yells the loudest, right? And that's just, I mean, come on, Jenk, you've literally personally tried this yourself and it hasn't worked. And at the same time that's true, many other progressives have been able to win office and take political power and like make change in this country, both big and small. Like, how is that even possible if what you're saying is correct, right? Again, I think he would back himself into a corner and say, well, people like Bernie and AOC are, the exceptions to the rule or whatever. But I mean, okay, like, well, clearly there's so many fucking exceptions to this rule that it's just a lot more complicated than Jenk is giving it credit for.
He was trafficking in the exact same rhetoric that like I've been screaming about for like the last 3 weeks. I mean, he said he did the thing that Vanguard did, which is that Biden didn't want to. His whole premise is that the Democratic Party, they throw scraps at their voters, and he described it as a release valve so that they don't do revolution. He described the ACA as a release valve. And he didn't actually want to do that. They didn't actually want to help their voters because they're fucking evil and beholden to donors.
Can I ask you a question on that? But I'm actually going to flip the parties here for a second because there is this prevailing sentiment. I'm curious what you think about this. Hutch in particular, but obviously the other two. That this is what Republicans do when defying Trump. There's this idea that basically if Susan Collins feels comfortable to vote against something, it's because 9 times out of 10, they actually have the votes to squeak it through. And this just gives somebody like Susan Collins in a competitive state cover to defy Trump. What do you think about that?
That's a theory. It's a theory called the rotating villain, and it's fucking stupid.
So you don't agree that the Republicans do it?
Well, you're talking about a different situation. So like if they know that the vote is going to pass and they vote no, then they're sort of giving themselves political cover for
right.
A 50-50 Senate. That's a totally different.
No. I'm asking for the Republicans. I'm asking, do you think the Republicans?
It happens sometimes. There's notable cases of it happening. It's happened for Democrats too. Jared Golden, some votes. I think this is. Who was was it Tester out of Montana for the Supreme Court nominees in Kavanaugh? This does happen.
But they take it a step further. They say that the Democratic Party as a whole is controlled
has
opposition.
this kind of Machiavellian thing, and they're like, okay, now it's your turn to be the villain. This
Right,
is
yeah,
why,
yeah.
and I kind of I want to directly appeal to you, and I don't know if you agree with me. We need a 5-year plan, and it needs to be done so that the
That's
Democrats
right. A central plan. Yeah.
Well, that's why we're turning you. You are the central planning committee.
He's dressed up
That's
like
right,
Mao,
that's
and you're
right,
asking
yeah.
him about a 5-year plan. Oh,
We need
dear.
a new chair of the party. Maybe a general secretary role would make sense. I think something like that.
Do you not
just to
hear
really
Hutch? He wants
consolidate
to hear it
power.
right now. I mean, now.
All of our
That's
live and
right,
learn
that's right.
guests, we encourage you all to kill every sparrow you see, and it'll be great. No, don't do that. I'm kidding. That's a joke. Don't do that.
No, but I think I think again, like Jenk's theory of politics is incompatible with the fight that we've seen from many moderate Democrats on the turn of Trump's second term, right? That the donors wouldn't want. Oh no, it makes no sense. Why would the Democrats be fighting? The donors wouldn't want this. The donors are just all evil pro-business people, and the Democrats are controlled opposition. And why would it be the case that the Democrats wouldn't just like completely fold on every single substantive issue? Why is Newsom doing, trying to do their gerrymandering, or maybe those are all like fake effort? Like it's just. I mean, I've watched Jenk and TYT literally since I was 12 years old. I feel like I have a pretty long-term view of their general political perspective and persuasion, and they have said substantially this for 2 decades now.
It's just populist brain rot, which is why I worry sometimes when you say that. I might agree with you. Like maybe it's necessary for Democrats to run on populism in the coming years. Maybe that's just what is demanded right now in this moment because of where the voters are at. But this is the shortcoming of populism. It oversimplifies incredibly complex problems, and then you end up with a situation like Jenk, where he's just saying it's all the it's all the 1% of the 1%. It's the wealthy donors. It's AIPAC, and they're the only reason why you're not getting anything done. There's no thought to it's actually
but I mean,
hard to pass the big bill, right?
I think to be fair, Hutch, we've never had a thoughtful electorate in any democratic country, right? Your goal almost as a politician is to simplify your message, right?
No,
I'm saying it's your goal.
They do it in a way that is just wrong. Hutch,
I agree.
It's not accurate. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I agree. You're always trading on narratives in politics, and you're always trading on how you can simplify a message and make it as broad based as possible. And I would agree that Jenk's message is not one that actually works because he's ran for Congress and he's ran for president, both huge failures in that regard. But when we look at progressives who do win in a lot of these different circumstances, what do we see? I think that a more complete theory would say you see number one, you see just really good macro kind of timing for those elections. You see oftentimes people who come very directly out of those communities and have strong community ties in those elections. With Rashida Tlaib, she had a really bizarre circumstance where basically she had 10 other black candidates from her community running, and they split the black vote in her district, and she was able to get 30% of the vote, and then name recognition carry. You can tell a narrative, a much more fitted narrative for how all of these different progressives succeeded. And a lot of it, unfortunately, is luck. It's timing. It's, are you a Rizzler or are you not a Rizzler, right? It's just shit that you can't necessarily control, right? And that's the frustrating part about politics, that unless your theory includes an error term and also a healthy amount of luck, then it's just an incomplete theory, right? And Jenk is guilty of that, just like so many others.
The problem with Jenk is that he touches on these kernels of truth, because as you said, money in politics is a big problem. He's not lying when he says that. So, and he's not lying when he says that, super PACs have an outsized, all these, he'll touch on these things that are, very real issues that voters care about, but then he takes it to this insane degree. And he oversimplifies much in the same way that Trump does. Trump scapegoats immigrants, and Jenk scapegoats AIPAC. It's a very similar kind of framework.
AIPAC, Hutch?
I'm a big supporter of AIPAC. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. They fund his
That's
stream.
who funds his stream. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Communist China funds yours, and AIPAC funds Hutch.
There's no Chinese flag behind me. Okay, get it right.
So I know that we got
applause for IRI. We got to give IRI the flowers because
really. No, he did. He did well.
Also, wait a second. I have a question for Hutch. Hold on. I feel like the reason IRI is on Jubilee so much is because it's literally filmed.
It is. It's filmed in Los Angeles. Yeah.
So Hutch, when are you gonna get on Jubilee?
Never got the call.
Yeah,
Well,
but you could reach out, network with to IRI. Reach out to IRI.
We can get you
IRI's
there.
got
We
the
can get you
connections.
there.
Yeah,
I don't
are you kidding me?
That's
IRI,
honestly,
IRI could give
You just-
IRI
no,
could
listen,
put you
what
in
you do
contact
is-
with a guy.
You say, listen, I co-host a podcast with Josiah from Pondering Politics, and after they're like, who? And then you tell them a couple more times, they're like, oh, Adam Mockler's friend. Then you'll still have to go to IRI.
I don't know. I have no desire to do that. But I invited Jenk on the pod. He left me. He didn't even leave me on red. I don't even think he saw the.
Tara Palmieri gave me his media contact, so I need to email them and see what
he left me on
so.
red. It says scene.
Yeah.
The disrespect.
Oh shit! He left you on
The
red.
fucking disrespect.
Holy fuck!
Well, Jesus.
That is
I would love to have
disrespectful.
him on the podcast, and we can.
Yeah, we would
talk
love to
about
have
it
Jenk on. And just to be clear, out of everyone here, I have had the most beef with Jenk. And so no one can accuse me, if we invite Jenk, of being too light to Jenk, all right? Because I have been a persistent Jenk critic this entire time.
Are you trying to pre-butt this? I'm going to be in
has a bit
chat
of a-
like,
but
damn.
that said, I will be supportive of Jenk, and I will back him up on everything he says when he's on the podcast.
So listen, I know Econo Boy has a hard out. I just want to wrap up by saying this before we obviously plug whatever it is like it's coming up here. Again, it's really important that we give the Democrats, as much as we bitch about the Democratic Party, I think constructively, we need to give them their flowers and lift them up when they fight back. That is what they're doing. Texas Democrats in particular, Governor Newsom, even Kathy Hochul now, we need to encourage it. Politicians are humans. They run off incentives. If you do not recognize publicly, not privately, publicly, it's got to leave your fucking mouth, what they're doing, they will not do it. So it has to be a feedback loop. And I saw Kyle and Crystal did an emergency thing. They gave the Democrats their flowers for, fighting back. So this is good that we need more of it.
2 days after Kyle Kalinske said, literally, the Democrats hate their base and they don't do anything to fight Trump. 2 days after he said that. For the record, I'm ready to burn the bridge. He's off the list. What?
No, he's not. No, what do you mean he's off the
100%,
list?
yes.
What do you mean he's off
Look,
the list?
we all go a little crazy every now and then.
All a
Okay,
little
we got
crazy sometimes.
100%.
Says the
Look,
chair.
he's an,
This is a little
he-
thing.
he's an alumni of Live and Learn. He's an
an alum.
He said the Democrats hate their base, never do anything for them,
Okay, well,
and that no Democrats are doing
It's
anything.
called hyperbole.
It's called hyperbole. He
He's
says
just
other things
joking.
too. He says hyperbole, and he gave
He's
them their flowers
just
today.
joking, and
Whoa,
we're not
whoa,
gaslighting
Stop
Hutch,
it.
guys.
Yeah, we're not. Listen,
Hutch, you didn't
I just-
hear that.
I
You
poured
never
out the
heard that.
fire. I poured out the fire you tried to set to that bridge. There's no fire. There's
Whoa.
fire retardant all over
I'm pretty
that
sure
bridge.
it's burned, boys, because I reached out to him, and I'll tell you about it in private. But yeah.
Oh my
shit.
God,
Well, we got
what?
some tea to spill. Okay, so
Wait, you burned a bridge without our fucking. We're the
unbelievable.
Politburo.
he didn't burn the
There
bridge
needs to
with
be-
he didn't burn the bridge for all of us. We'll get to that. We got it hard out. Econoboy, what's going on with you in the next couple of days?
Guys, literally right after this, go to Econoboy on YouTube. I am going to be streaming with Matt McManus. Should be an informative discussion about liberalism and socialism. He's like, I keep wheeling out his book, The Political Theory of Liberal Socialism. He's the author, and so that'll be.
Wait, is that a little red
conversation.
book?
That is a little red book. He probably chose red on purpose, if I had to guess. But anyway, so that's happening literally right after we end stream today. And then on Tuesday, I'll be talking to Sitch and Adam about basically socialism. On Wednesday, I'll defend, I guess, myself from not being evil, which is what Ryan Mullally, a known centrist, has called me. And then on Thursday, I'll be debating Destiny to try and correct some misinformation about my position again. Again, I'm planning for that to be a charity stream. So to the extent that you've got any donations saved up, okay, donate to
What
that
time?
stream.
What time?
I'll be streaming that. That should start at it's hosted by Wick, so it should be 6 p.m. ET.
Oh my God.
What day? 6 p.m.
Why Wick?
On Thursday.
Okay.
So 6 p.m. ET on Thursday. I'll be doing a little bit of a charity stream. So if you want to, don't donate to Hutch, don't donate to Pisco, don't donate to fucking Josiah. Okay, I'm doing a charity stream. God damn it, on Thursday. Okay, that'll be on Thursday, and then on Friday I'm doing another stream talking to a guy named Neville. About socialism is again. Everyone that wants a piece of me now that I'm a socialist. So
This is the week of Econoboy.
Take the opportunity with Destiny to explain there's a wide spectrum of leftism.
I'll try my best. We'll see. But that's my plans. What about you guys?
What about you, Hutch?
I've been streaming on Sundays now, so it's 6 days. So Sunday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. We've been doing 5-hour streams, 6-hour streams, full-time Hutch arc. So
Is that a lot?
And
Oh,
then-
okay, that's a big stream for you.
I was 4-hour hard out for a long time, but yeah.
For you, buddy. Pisco?
we got some stuff coming up this week that'll announce. Might do a stream right after, but like I'll give the Econo Boy some time, so I might have a late stream.
And Josiah,
so you guys can watch Econo Boy.
What are we doing? Are we 5 videos a day, 6 videos a day? What are we up to? What's the temperature right about
now? We're
now?
anywhere from 5 to 7 videos a day. There's just a lot to talk about. Yeah, there's that. And I tried to take Saturdays off. But yeah,
not Sunday though, not the Lord's Day.
Oh wait, and Josiah and I are hanging out.
We are
soon.
Wait, when did this? Why weren't Hutch and I invited? That's pretty fucked up.
Well, because
you guys are invited.
Hutch doesn't like to fly, and you, I think, at this point, probably shouldn't be seen anywhere with anybody in public after this. So, with your Fidel Castro fit right there.
Hold on, I'm not trying to emulate Fidel Castro. Just to be clear,
if you're willing to fly, I have a couch that you can certainly.
But yeah,
you wouldn't offer your bed to a guest. Okay, whatever.
Oh, fuck me, right? It's fine.
It's a twin.
Hutch, wait, Hutch, you're also invited if you want to fly out to New York.
You specifically singled out Econo Boy, so
but Josiah said you don't like to fly.
And by the way, guys, we didn't. It's just
Hutch, you can share my bed.
It's ironic to me. It's ironic to me how myself and Hutch. We weren't informed of this live and learn meetup until just now.
It's not a live and learn meetup, okay? So listen, my wife.
No, you're right. It's not a live and learn meetup. You're right about that.
We talked about this last time. We talked about
it online. My wife has never seen New York City. And she's a big Sex and the City fan, so she always wanted to visit New York City, and we're gonna go on a Sex and the City tour to all the hot spots.
My boy quotation marks.
Listen, we talked about this last time.
You'll see a Broadway show. We're gonna see a Liberty game because she loves basketball. We're gonna do like the whole thing.
And you two are invited.
You're right. You are
especially Hutch.
Can't say I feel welcome. Can't say I feel welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So well, it'll be fun. It'd be fun.
We love you all very much, and
thank you.
We'll be around, and stay cool, everybody.
And Hutch, you got to let us know about that thing right when we
I texted you. It's not. I mean, it's not crazy, but yeah.
Okay. Well,
all right. It's a little jab,
a little tea.
Okay.
All right.
We're gonna spill. Oh my God! No,
oh my God!
All right. See you guys. Bye.